Here is my mini lesson called Author Blurb. Yesterday, students were able to face their watcher, or their fears of writing in the classroom. Now that they've been able to face these fears, they need to start changing their identity from being a student who writes in the classroom to being a writer. They can start to change this identity by creating their own author blurb. And they can use this author blurb whenever they hand in a piece of writing for in the classroom or out of the classroom, or whether they're handing in a piece of writing or publishing a piece of writing. The lesson plan. I always start with a write into the day in their daybook. I ask them, how did they identify themselves? Now, students might identify themselves as an athlete, or a musician, or a son and daughter, or a student. You might have one or two who will identify themselves as a writer, but most students will not. And I want them to start thinking about their identity and how their identity is important in the classroom. After we have a discussion about identity, we move on to looking at model author blurb texts. In this PowerPoint, I've submitted 2 from online. However, I highly suggest you use author blurbs from books that you have in your own classroom library. Here are 2 author blurbs. Here's J.K. Rowling, she wrote Harry Potter, and R.J. Palacio, she wrote Wonder. So as students start to look at these different author blurbs, start asking them, what do they notice? Some will tell you that they notice that the authors are telling you where they live. Some will tell you that they identify who they live with. Then others will talk about how they identify other types of works that they have done. R.J. Palacio has other works aside from Wonder. So does J.K. Rowling. Or it might talk about the type of genre that they like to write in. So you also have students start to identify genres and how there's different genres, and then they could also talk about how there's young adult as a genre, or adult, or children. So they start to notice differences and similarities between these author blurbs, which is going to help them when they go to write their own author blurb. I've also included my own author blurb to use as a model in the classroom. Here's my author blurb. Allison MacDonald holds a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology from Fitchburg State University, as well as a Bachelor of Arts in English with a minor in education from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. She currently works as a high school English teacher while writing on the side. Her passions are helping students with their learning disabilities, destigmatizing mental illness, and empowering young women. She is the author of the critically acclaimed comics Goth Girl, Loving Leah, and Dyslexic Delaney. Allison's latest writing is her first novel, Finding Imani's Identity. After you review all these author blurbs and they talk about what they noticed and you model your own author blurb, ask students to write their author blurbs. And tell them, at least what I like to tell them, is that they will be attaching their author blurb to every piece of writing they will be handing in the classroom as well as outside the classroom. And we talk about using real audiences, and we talk about being able to have them publish their work outside of the classroom. And one great place is called the National Writing Project. This is a place where they can go on and you can have them publish their work as well as look at other students' works. So I like to be able to give them a real website that they will use to publish their work outside of the classroom to show them that their writing has value. So why is this important? Well, real writers who publish their work always have an author blurb to tell their audience who their author is in order to help membership with the audience. And what I mean by membership is they might use a specific genre to captivate an audience. Or in Wonder, what they're trying to do is she is trying to talk about students who look different. And she's membershiping with those students who don't identify as looking as normal. So those students will most likely pick up her book. But the real takeaway here is that I want students to be able to start identifying as an author, and they can start identifying as an author when they have their own author blurb to attach to their writing.